Hello. Sorry for the cough. YouTube peoples. This is just going to be a mini bio, and I'm reading off Wikipedia, so anyone can go look this up. Of the writer Emil Cioran, and or Cioran, or Cioran, or yeah, I said Cioran, but doesn't matter, does it? So here it goes. Emil Cioran, April 8th, 1911 to the 20th of June, 1995, was a Romanian philosopher and essayist who published works in both Romanian and French. Cioran was born in Rezna, Szizbin County, I cannot pronounce Romanian, which was part of Austria-Hungary at the time. His work has been noted for its pervasive philosophical pessimism and frequently engaged with issues of suffering, decay, and nihilism. Among his best-known works are On the Heights of Despair, 1934, and The Trouble with Being Born in 1973. Cioran's first French book, A Short History of Decay, was awarded the prestigious Rivarol Prize in 1950. The Latin Quarter of Paris was his permanent residence, and he lived much of his life in isolation with his partner, Simone Bro. And I'm just going to skip down here to major themes and style. Professing a lack of interest in conventional philosophy in his early youth, Cioran dismissed abstract speculation in favor of personal reflection and passionate lyricism. "I've invented nothing," he said. "I've simply been the secretary of my sensations." Pessimism characterizes all his works, which many critics trace back to events in his childhood. In 1935, his mother is reputed to have told him that if she had known he was going to be so unhappy, she would have aborted him. However, Cioran's pessimism, in fact his skepticism and even nihilism, remains both inexhaustible and, in its own particular manner, joyful. It is not the sort of pessimism which can be traced back to simple origins, singular origins themselves being questionable. When Cioran's mother spoke to him of abortion, he confessed that it did not disturb him, but made an extraordinary impression which led him to an insight about the nature of existence. "I am simply an accident. Why take it all so seriously?" is what he later said in reference to the incident. His works often depict an atmosphere of torment, a state that Cioran himself experienced, and came to be dominated by lyricism and often the expression of intense and even violent feeling. The books he wrote in Romanian especially display his latter characteristic. Preoccupied with the problems of death and suffering, he was attracted to the ideal of suicide, believing it to be an ideal that could help one go on living, an ideal that he fully explored in On the Heights of Despair. He revisits suicide in depth in The New Gods, which contains a section of aphorisms devoted to the subject. The theme of human alienation, the most prominent existentialist theme, presented by Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus, is thus formulated in 1932 by young Cioran. Is it possible that existence is our exile and nothingness is our home? And On the Heights of Despair. Cioran's work encompasses many other themes as well. Original sin, the tragic sense of history, the end of civilization, the refusal of consolation through faith, the obsession with the absolute, life as an expression of man's metaphysical exile, etc. He was a thinker passionate about history, widely reading the writers that were associated with the period of decadent. One of these writers was Oswald Spengler, who influenced Cioran's political philosophy in that he offered Gnostic reflections on the destiny of man and civilization. According to Cioran, as long as man is kept in touch with his origins and hasn't cut himself off from himself, he has resisted decadence. Today, he is on his way to his own destruction through self-objectification, impeccable production and reproduction, excessive self-analysis and transparency, and artificial triumph. Regarding God, Cioran has noted that without Bach, God would be a complete second-rate figure, and that Bach's music is the only argument proving the creation of the universe cannot be regarded as a complete failure. In an interview, he stated that Bach had been a kind of religion for him. He mentioned that Bach and Dostoevsky were the two great obsessions of his life, but that while his passion for Dostoevsky ended up diminishing somewhat, his obsession with Bach remained intact. William H. Glass called Cioran's work a philosophical romance on the modern themes of alienation, absurdity, boredom, futility, decay, the tyranny of history, the vulgarities of change, awareness of agony, and reason as disease. Cioran became most famous while writing not in Romanian but French, a language with which he had struggled since his youth. During Cioran's lifetime, St. John Perse called him the greatest French writer to honor our language since the death of Paul Valéry. Cioran's tone and usage in his adopted language was seldom as harsh as in Romanian, though his use of Romanian is said to be more original. And that's just a brief synopsis of the themes of Emil Cioran. Have a good day, folks.